Welcome, friends. This is Mr. Reality. I am overjoyed and over the moon that I get to spend time today with psychic medium Liz Cross. Liz, how are you?
Well, I feel exactly the same. Thank you. I feel privileged to speak with you.
Happy New Year. It's been a great year for me so far, and I hope that everybody out there is having a great year. We'd just like to quickly encourage them, if you haven't given a gift yet, patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond is a great place to give somebody a gift because they can find all sorts of Liz videos that aren't published publicly on YouTube.
Thank you.
I wanted to start with The Doors, Liz. Now, this happened a little bit before I was born, but great American singer and poet, lead vocalist who died at 27, Jim Morrison. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. Great musician, sadly, went too soon. I wondered if we could bring forth the spirit energy and learn some stuff about Jim Morrison and his life and afterlife.
All right. Well, you know how we got to this point,
I
right?
do. We'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I do have Jim Morrison here. Yes.
Wow, what a privilege and honor it is to talk to you, Mr. Morrison. Do you prefer that or Jim, or do you have another nickname?
Do you have another nickname? Okay. I don't know what this means. He says Bunny.
All right. Well, thanks, Buddy Morrison,
But
for
I
being
don't
here.
I don't know if that's for him or someone else. He just says Bunny to
What
me.
have you been working on since you crossed over almost like 50 years ago now?
He's been working on himself.
What does that look like? Should paint that picture for us so we can understand what your self is over there, what type of things you do, what's a hourly activities like to work on you on the soul plane.
So that's interesting. What do you do over there? Well, he does a lot of studying, he does a lot of reading, absorbing of information, trying to figure out the best path for his next lifetime. He says most of my lifetimes have been a complete disaster. And are you going to come back as a musician? Yes, but I don't feel that he wants to come back like this ever again. Are you going to be a professional musician? No. He's going to play music just for himself as a hobby, but nothing professional.
Like, okay, still, we want to know more about your reading over there. Do you go somewhere? Do you check out books? Do you talk to a librarian? What's that process like? We want to know the nuances.
So, what is that process like? It's like in the form of downloads, he says. You pick whatever it is you want to download, what information, and you just stand in, like, is it a chamber? No, it's just you stand there and the information comes into you. Do you have to get permission to get that information? No. Do you speak to a librarian? No. It's just kind of an all-knowing channel of information.
Do you have a certain zone that you stay central to? And other people come to visit you in like orb form over there?
Yeah, do people come to visit you? Yes. And do you have a zone that no, no, he's very movable. He's very movable. He likes to move around.
Does he have a guitar over there?
Ooh, do you have a guitar over there? I mean, no. Do you hear music? Yes. He says, I try to recreate the music in my consciousness. But can you physically hear the music? No. Can we actually physically hear, like we do on the earth plane, anything like that in the spirit world? No.
Can he put that music into someone else's consciousness as like a download to them?
Can you put that music in someone else's consciousness? Yes, he can share that, and they can. But are you just like reading energy? So, like, what I do is I read energy, right?
Okay.
So the energy comes into me, and I'm saying, But is that what you do up there? You're basically, that's how you're communicating, that's how you're doing things, is you're reading energy? Exactly.
Did he have any psychic ability when he was down here? Because he had a lot of very interesting esoteric knowledge that is very unique for someone of his age and youth.
Did you have any psychic ability? No. Mediumship? No. No, but he took a lot of drugs that would allow his, not that we're advocating for drug use,
Right.
but at
Don't do
that
drugs,
time,
kids.
right, don't do drugs. But at that time, there were things that were going on that allowed him to, his consciousness to detach from the body and travel.
More drug imagery here, I guess. Uh, and so did those drugs that he was using open him up to like a direct stream of that knowledge?
Did those drugs that you were using when you were, your consciousness was floating, did that allow you a direct stream of? Yes, he could tap into a lot of knowledge. Yes, that is correct.
What did that knowledge come from a darkness or like a dark entity? And did he have any attachments in life as Jim Morrison?
Did that knowledge come from a dark entity? Not that he's aware of. Did you have any entity attachments in? Not that he's aware of. No.
Okay. And he doesn't think that when he came into life as Jim Morrison, did he plan to only live until 27? And was that the idea? Was that in the soul contract or DNA contract?
Yeah. Now he's going. He's pointing at that other lifetime that you and I probed before.
Right.
Um. Yes, that's how you maximize the effect. But it's not just about the effect of yourself, it's the effect of your loved ones around you, your fan base, things like that. But now, see, now he's referring back to that lifetime where he was Robert Johnson.
Well, wow. Thanks for dropping the bomb. Robert Johnson, does he know himself as now? For those of you that don't know, you can go back and listen to Liz's videos. We probed Robert Johnson and learned offline that he incarnated in the future as Jim Morrison. Robert Johnson maybe possibly made a deal with the devil. So did Jim Morrison in his Jim Morrison incarnation make any deals with dark entities, the devil, or anything?
Did you make any deals with dark entities or the devil? He tried. He said, I tried. I've tried that in a few lifetimes. And remember, that's what he was portrayed to do, or it was certainly thought that he did in that lifetime as Robert Johnson, where he went down to the crossroads and got down on his knees. Even the song says that. And the devil tuned his guitar at the stroke of midnight. In this lifetime, as Jim Morrison, he tried to make a deal with the devil or the dark in order for his music to infiltrate everywhere. But the intention was not there. Oftentimes, his consciousness, this would when he would be under the influence. So in his heart, the intention was not there. You have to have that intention in the heart, right? You have to completely give up on source, God, whatever you want to call him, her, whatever. And you have to give that heart, that soul, that consciousness over to the dark. But if your intentions are still pure and you still are like wanting to be for the light and at a soul level, then you can, that won't happen.
I'd like to understand more about the fractal of Robert Johnson versus the fractal of Jim Morrison. Do they ever interact with each other and do they project themselves as their avatars down here?
Yes, all the time. That he's telling me there was a lot of similarities between Jim Morrison and Robert Johnson. Same personality, same addictions, same issues. Both of these guys, or this same soul, both of them had a level of abuse which was pretty hardcore growing up. And this is what, a lot of times people, they get trapped by the abuse on a psychological level, and that's true, they do. But a lot of times the abuse that people suffer really constructs these remarkable people that bring so much into the earth plane, right? So you got to see the good and bad and everything. I'm not condoning abuse, but you have to try to take a bad situation and you have to look at it in a white light way, right? And these guys are very similar. They were almost exactly the same, just a different, obviously different race, different time period, but the underlying theme was the same.
So what does it look like when they hang out? And do you always hang out with your past life avatars and do you get along with them?
That's a good question. Do you see yourself as a past life avatar? No. You can only project yourself to me in the way that I want to see him. So if I want to talk to Jim Morrison, he projects himself as Jim Morrison. If I want to talk to Robert Johnson, see, now he's switched over to Robert Johnson. But do I have the two avatars or holograms standing here? No, because it's the same soul.
It's
That's a
the
good
same soul. So let's ask Robert Johnson, if we could, what about his life path? It's a 5-year difference in our calendar from being Jim Morrison to crossing over as Robert Johnson. So do you feel like there wasn't enough time to heal on the soul level, and that's why these two paths are similar?
Do you feel that when you went up into incarnation as Robert Johnson, that you had sufficient time to recreate your next lifetime? Um, no, he does not feel like he had enough time. No.
Is there any arbiter up there or gatekeeper that says you can go down next, or we need to see a better we need to see a better paragraph and a better outline of what your next life is going to be like?
Is there someone that like says that you need to you basically can pick and choose what you want. Do they guide you? I mean, they do offer a lot of guidance, but ultimately it's down to the soul, right? And because he was recreating a very similar existence to the last one, um they allow it, it was approved.
So do they talk together with each other, or how many others? And if do they, let's start with that. Do these individuals, these avatars, talk to each other on the soul plane?
Do do you talk to one another on the soul? No, because it's the same soul. So the soul is the soul, but it's, he's had two different lifetimes.
How many other lifetimes has he had that we don't know about? How many other incarnations has this soul had as a person, human on Earth?
This soul has a person. Oh, hundreds, 500, if not more.
Is that cataloged in something called the Akashic Records?
Ooh, is that cataloged in something called the Akashic Records? So that is okay. Good questions, Mr. Reality. That is a conscious mind construct, the Akashic Records, which has been handed down to those of us on the earth plane in order to understand, because we need to be, we need to have order and we have to understand
I do need
where this
order.
information.
Yes.
You are very organized and orderly, I must say. I could never live up to your standards, but um, in order for us to understand more about the information, it is given to humans as Akashic records. So does that mean an Akashic records actually exists up there? I mean, it is a form of Akashic records, but that is the way it's projected down to us on the earth plane so that we can understand it.
So could I ask Jim Morrison or Robert Johnson to tell me about Life 311 and what that was like? Or don't they have that linearity up there?
They're giving me, so Jim Morrison, I still have the soul as Jim Morrison. He's reverted back to Jim Morrison now. Um, ooh, gave me a small child, a small boy. This is going way, way back. Is this in Europe? Yes, this is actually in the UK, somewhere very poverty stricken, very poor, orphaned on the streets, and asking for food, money, warmth, whatever that this, anyone was willing to give. And oftentimes, he was abused on the street, so slapped and kicked and punched and uncared for. Now, do you think, I have to ask this question, do you think that in this last lifetime as Jim Morrison, did you feel relatively the same? Yes, it was similar, very similar. I felt unloved, I felt uncared for. So this is a common theme that this person or this soul does not seem to be able to process and to resolve.
Wow, I just for the people out there, we have to ask about a Lifetime 420 so he can tell us about that one as well.
Lifetime 420. Lifetime 420 is more recent, and Lifetime 420 was something to do with a cat. So I see that again, another child on the street. Listen, I got to ask this question. Have you actually had any lifetimes where you lived a long life? No, right? Because I see
Wow.
again this child, another child on the street. Now, this is a problem that we all have, or most of our souls have, right? Which is we
Okay.
keep recreating the same scenario, the same thing over and over for a whole multitude of reasons. One, we're trying to resolve issues that we haven't been able to resolve. But two, well, this is familiar. This is safe. This is my comfort zone. And I'm saying, does your soul ever allow you to be pushed, or do you push yourself out of that comfort zone? And I got a yes. So certainly with Robert Johnson and Jim Morrison, it was pushed out of that comfort zone. So did you have a lot of money when you were Robert Johnson? I mean, made a decent living, nothing certainly like Jim Morrison had. But again, that was a lesson to the soul that no matter how much money there was, it still didn't fix the issues.
Wow.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem. A lot of people think with their conscious minds that if they just had all this money, all of their problems would be solved. It's just not true. Your money problems may end up being solved if you are emotionally able to handle dealing with a lot of money. Dealing with a lot of money is a full time job. That's not for wimps. When we
Right.
pro these guys at the top, they're not wimps. They know what they're doing and they know how to handle money. But just because you manifest loads of money, does that mean that you're healed? No, far from it, as we can see with this guy.
I just want to ask a couple questions about his music and his artistry. The song "People Are Strange." What was he trying to tell us in that song?
I love that song. I haven't heard that in years. When you're strange, what were you trying? Because people are odd, and they have so many masks and so many layers and cloaking that they wear. And he says, and when you strip it down with drugs, because he was in drugs environment. When you strip it down
Artists
with drugs,
are used
the
drugs? No
yeah,
way.
the inhibitions fade away, and you get to see how odd it really is that the person behind all the layers of, invisibility and personalities and constructs is actually not who they are at all.
Was Break On Through to the Other Side uh, a nod to that drug use?
Absolutely. That was about trying to get the right combination in order for your consciousness to go for a ride.
Does he think that there are things people can do now without using and resorting to drugs that can help them break through to the other side or get that higher consciousness?
Hypnotherapy is one, definitely deep meditation as well. Yes, those two things he says you can really go deep.
What were the underlying messages behind Strange Days?
He felt like he was going to die. He knew he
Wow.
was going to die young.
How?
He just always had a feeling that this was not sustainable. And
Wow.
also, when he would travel with his consciousness, he received information that he was not going to be around for long.
How about the crystal ship?
Again, I think a lot of this stuff was visions when he would let go.
And so he would just track those visions and make poetry out of them and into songs and try and put words to what he was experiencing high.
What were you trying to recreate by, the crystal ship? It was about trying to elevate the audience or trying to for the audience to experience, he's telling me, uh the same thing that he experienced. So he thought by putting it into words, by putting it into music, because music is very intoxicating on its own, right?
Yeah. And those themes that we hear today, he talked more about transcendence and the other side and hallucinations. What does he think about the music that is pushed out to people and general the youth today? What themes are there now?
What themes are there now? Well, a lot of the emotion has been removed, he says, from the music, and he doesn't think that the themes or the lyrics, it's not storytelling anymore. It's gone beyond that. It's more of a, what the status is right at this present moment. It's not telling stories anymore, whereas songs used to tell stories.
What does he think the end result of that will be?
What do you think that's a good question. What do you think the end result of that will be? A loss. Certainly a loss on history. You can tell a lot of history through music. And he's saying to me, that's what a lot of music was about back in tribal times. It was about retelling of an event or a story of a hardship or of a people through music. And you could remember that because of the song, right? You would sing about it, you would pray about it, but by connecting with music, making music, singing those songs about what our ancestors went through, he says, it gave you a more heightened experience. And he says, you just don't have that. It's almost like the songs now, he says, are instant gratification. They're not really deep, meaningful songs. It's more about like what's happening right now.
Yeah,
And as soon as it's finished, it's
you're
let go.
alone. Right. I had a couple of final questions for him, if we can. I wanted to ask the architect of Jim Morrison, is there anybody that helps craft your future lives?
Ooh, is there anyone that helps craft your future lives? Really, it's all down to the soul. So the soul, do you take direction and guidance? You present what you want to them, the hierarchy, the approvers, the programmers. You present what you want to them, but you may have to tweak it and make some changes, and this is too hard, this is too passive. But ultimately you are in control of your design.
Are you the architect of your own future destinies? Or is there another entity or group of entities or angelic realms that help you with it?
He's the architect of his future. Now, if someone comes along and you make soul contracts, especially lifelong soul contracts with them, then obviously you're sort of making that together. So the contracts are where you are designing with another person. It's like a collaboration, right? It's like a duo. He's so funny. Um, and it's like a band coming together, right? You all have, he's so smart. You all have different parts that you play, but ultimately, we're all singing the same song. We're all working towards the same goal, which is from start to finish of a song. So each, if you have a family, so you have like the mom or the dad or whatever the family construct means to you, the siblings or whoever's in the family,
Right.
and you're all, and sometimes band members come and go. So sometimes you need a new guitar player, sometimes you need a new singer, and interchangeable, but you're all playing the same tune of Ascension.
That's the
Wow.
end goal. The soul contract is to get to ascension. How far off does he feel he is to that?
You feel that you are from that. Oh, millions of years.
That
Millions of years. To know everything is almost impossible. And you have to really recreate, reincarnate, reinvent, redo all of this stuff again and again until you no longer have to reincarnate on the earth plane. And then your lessons become entirely different. Then you learn lessons through helping others.
looking back over the span of his 500 lifetime incarnations, what
As a
is his
human.
greatest memory?
As a human. So he's had a
Yeah.
lot more as like animals and plant life. And what is your greatest memory? Oh dear. Sex.
All right. A lot of that probably over 500 lifetimes. So,
And that's very like Jim Morrison and Robert Johnson, right?
absolutely. Hey, both of you and Liz and everyone out there listening, we thank you so much. Jim Morrison, Robert Johnson, Liz Cross, and everybody listening. That was a great time.
It was. That we broke on through to the other side just for this probe.
Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Liz.
That was awesome. Thank you.